everybody, it's Brooke, and I'm back with some bonus content. Today, we are going to be ranking every character from Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 5, kind of reflecting on their journeys for the season. It has been one of my favorite seasons, I think. Season 5 has killed it. I will say, when I'm ranking these, don't take it personally if I don't like someone you don't like. Feel free to disagree with me kindly in the comments. My kind of doing it is just being like, it's kind of a mix of like, do I like the storyline for the season? Do I feel the character was utilized well? Did I enjoy the decisions that the character made? It's kind of a mix of stuff. Did I like how they were acted? Like, how much they stand out to me, things like that. And it's very subjective and personal, and I know it is for you guys as well. So I do want you to share in the comments what you would do differently, where you'd move people. I just ask that if you're talking to me or to each other in the comments, that you do so kindly, because again, it's a tier list for a TV show. It's not that serious. You should not be, like, calling people names or fighting about it. That's crazy. There's enough, like, badness in the world. We don't have to be mean to each other over a TV show that we all love. That would be a little ridiculous. So remember, lead with kindness when you're commenting and responding to other people's comments. Even if someone else is kind of being a jerk, sometimes it's hard to remember not to be a jerk back. But try your best. That's all I ask. We gotta come up with some tier names. I think S we do Slay, because, like, obviously they're a Slay. A is for, like, so Slay is like, can do no wrong, we love them. This would be more like, we're fam. Like, we still love them. They're fam. We love them. But, like, they're not at Slay category. B is mid. Like, they were just, like, mid this season. Like, they were fine, but maybe they didn't do anything that made them super likable this season, or, like, that I enjoyed, but, like, I don't hate them either. C is, like, you did your job. Like, I understand why this character was here. They did what they were supposed to do, but I'm just not that into it, I think would be a good one for C's. And then D's are, sent to the hell dimension. Because, you know, even we just don't ever want to see this character again. What is the point? Like, this is for, like, characters that either I hated because they were awful, like, purely evil, no redeeming category in being a fun character or anything, or, like, I'm just like, why the fuck was this character here? They weren't needed. I think that's fair. I love the pictures of everybody that the person who made this tier list picked. It looks like we're starting with Anya. This is Anya, but it's so blurry I almost can't tell. Anya, I feel like Anya goes in mid this season. I still like Anya, but if I'm honest on her journey through season 5, she was mostly in the background for all of it. She had, like, a couple of good moments. I really like the episode where her and Willow learned to get along. And then I'm trying to think of any other episode where I was like, oh yeah, Anya killed this, other than, like, some, like, funny one-liners. And sometimes she was even comedic relief when I don't think she needed to be. Like, there was that whole, like, time she was super American, like, patriotic for some reason. And I was like, why is this happening? Like, sometimes I think Anya is just, like, there to date Xander, and then Xander's just there to be comedic relief, and I'm not as invested in the characters. Like, they're fine. Like, sometimes Anya has good moments, but I'm like, I don't feel like Anya gets a storyline where I'm super invested and, like, interested. I think she needs something like that, because I feel like since she has been introduced, she was really interesting in the episode with Cordy. But after that, she's literally just basically been Xander's girlfriend. Like, she doesn't get much. So, like, honestly, this season, like, I think if you took Anya out of this season, it wouldn't be that different. And I think that's a bad thing for, like, a main character who's in every episode. Like, she needs a little more. And that's not, like, entirely character's fault. Like, it's who's writing it, but it's how the character is portrayed. So that's how I feel. Hot Doctor / Ben. This is hard because I liked Hot Doctor / Ben through the whole show up until the very end. But I think we have to put Hot Doctor / Ben in We're Fam because he was so good. And because of the way they did it. I think his character was so successful because he was slowly introduced starting each time they went to the hospital. Like, the first time we saw him, I was like, oh, that's a hot extra, like, or, like, to be in one episode. But then he slowly got a bigger and bigger role, and then when you find out that him and Gloria are this one, first you find out there's some kind of relation, because the guys go and talk to them, and then you find out they're the same, and they're switching, and I think that storyline was so well done, and I think, Ben's character, while he didn't seem that complex in the beginning, he was literally Hot Doctor. He, like, grows so well throughout the season, and it was such a good way to do it. He was in it the perfect amount to start to slowly be like, oh, this guy's more important than we think, and you're like, oh, well, maybe he's gonna be a love interest, but you're not getting that fully, and I think it was such a good thing. Also, he was such a good guy up until that end, and to be fair to him, that was when him and Glory were starting to mesh, so some of her evil was, like, leaking into Ben. And I liked him overall, and I thought he was a great character, very essential to the season, and done really, really well. So, we gotta have Ben on We're Fam, even if we're never gonna see him again. My Queen Buffy goes in Slay, because my girl has been through it this season, and yes, there are times where Buffy can annoy me. Her biggest flaw to me is her inability to tell anyone anything. And then, like, it blows up and she's like, and it's like, well, if I had just told you these things, it would have been easier. It is a flaw she has, but it makes her realistic because people have flaws. Like, and we don't always learn and fix them. Like, some of them are just like, we have them. It is something I would have liked to see her work on. But she died, so that's also very confusing, knowing that there is another season to watch. I think there's 2. I think there's a 6 and 7. And I'm like, is Buffy just not going to be in those? But overall, Buffy had a tough season. Her sister moved back in, who we didn't know existed, but she lived there now. She finds out her sister's, like, a thing, but, like, then her mom gets sick. Then her mom dies. Then Dawn gets kidnapped by Glory. Spike's stalking her in the background. There's a lot going on for Buffy this season, and I think overall she handles it really well. I felt like for her character, this felt like a series finale. Like, where, like, Buffy came full circle and, like, we saw from the very beginning to now, and it was like, I don't know, you guys will have to let me know if this was originally going to be the series finale. It's a sad one if it was, but, like, at the same time, I could see it as a satisfying finale. But I don't know. I think that's kind of crazy. But yeah, Buffy's dead. She has died. So I have no idea what we're going to be going into for season 6. But Buffy still slays, because overall, she kicks ass. I agree with her most of the time. And she won in the end. She beat Glory. She sacrificed herself. Buffy went through it, okay? And she deserves to be on the top of the pyramid. She just do. My girl Dawn, this may be controversial, because what I'm getting is people who watched the show when Dawn was first introduced, and they watched it week to week, and maybe they were a lot younger. Like, my friends who watched it when they were teens, like, preteens and teens. Like, they still went back and watched it, but, like, they watched it when we were way younger. Don't like Dawn. But I like Dawn, so we're putting her up there. Everybody get mad, throw your popcorn, throw tomatoes, boo tomato if you don't like Dawn. But I like Dawn. I think it helps that I love the actress, Ice Princess, one of her Disney Channel originals, one of my favorite movies as a kid. Georgina Sparks in Gossip Girl. Like, I love the actress. So immediately I was like, well, you've got me signed on. I do like this actress. That is going to make me like the character a little more. But I think Dawn is such an integral part, very obviously, to the season. But I think the actress does a great job. Like, yeah, Dawn's annoying. She's 14. If you weren't annoying at 14, you're lying. We were all annoying at 14. So I think if you're younger and you're closer to that age range, you probably don't have the same amount of empathy for a 14-year-old that I now do at like 29. At 29, I look back at 14 and I'm like, yeah, I was fucking annoying as hell. Like, are you crazy? Poor kid. She's just trying to figure it out with all her hormones and shit. And then she also has to deal with being a magic key. That's crazy. And she also lost her mom this episode. I think it's easy to be like, well, she's not really her sister or her mother. It's like, but Dawn doesn't know that, and neither do they. They all have the same, like, memories and things, and it feels like it. So it is. And I think overall, like, the actress does great. I think her chemistry with the other characters are great. I think her and Sarah Michelle Gellar's is insane. Like, they do such a good job, especially in that final scene where Dawn wants to sacrifice herself to save the world, and like Buffy's like no, and they have this like silent moment while she's talking to her, and you don't hear the talking till after, and it's so emotional. And like Dawn does a lot of things where it's like, yeah, that makes sense at 14 and your mom dies and you know magic exists, you're gonna try to bring her back. And then she makes the adult decision to protect Buffy by stopping the magic. She's like, oh, Buffy will not be able to handle this, I need to stop. And I think the thing is, they're so similar that they both just assume the other understands what they're feeling, and then it leads to them fighting. And it's kind of great. And I like Dawn. I think it was crazy when they added her, and I was like, is the show trying to gaslight me right now? This woman did not exist. But overall, I like her character. She's sassy. I assume she'll be slightly older in the next season. But I'm excited to see where the actress takes the character, especially now that she doesn't have anyone. I don't know if Giles will adopt her or something. Like, she doesn't have a family right now, so I don't really know what's going to happen there. I guess she still has Buffy's dad, but we ain't seen him since, like, what, season 1? That man could be dead for all we know. But I like Dawn, so that's where she's going. She's also integral to the season, and I think she does a good job. Giles? Better than season 4. I can't remember where I put him for season 4. He definitely did better than season 4. Is he in Slay, though? Is he in Slay because he pissed me off? Because, like, Ben pissed me off in the end, and I dropped him down to we're fam. But I appreciate that Giles had more stuff. I think Giles is in more fam. That just feels right for me. Because, one, I think his character was better this season. I think he was lower in my last one, because it really didn't feel like he did much. Overall, I think he had way more to do this season. I love the addition of the magic shop. I think that is amazing for his character and makes a lot of sense in relation to what they're doing. I didn't find all of Giles' like storylines. They were kind of basic, or like he was never like that I can remember that stands out to me after watching the whole season over the last few months. None of Giles' storylines are standing out to me really, to be like, oh, this part was amazing. The main thing that's standing out is what we just watched, where he pissed me off and was like, she's not your sister, you're gonna have to kill her. And Buffy was like, fucking come at me, bro. And he pissed me off. So maybe there's a little bit of that still there. But I'm trying to think if there was any moments this season where it's like, oh, hell yeah, Giles killed it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I just don't think so. There is a hornet on my curtain. I'm going to have to deal with that in a moment. After this, probably. It's not moving right now, but that's annoying. How did it get into my house? Okay, continuing. But yeah, there are times, I think Giles' character is better this season, but he's not up there with Buffy and Dawn for me personally. Glory, though, Glory's up there. Glory's slay, best villain of the show in my opinion. The actress, like, her presence killed it. She did such a good job. It was such a fun villain, and it was the one I was most, like, on the edge of my seat for, because I was like, I don't know how you beat her. Like, I don't. Like, she's a god, okay? And, like, I wasn't that into the Adam and the soldiers, that was just not for me. The mayor, I liked him and Faith together, but the mayor himself was not, like, super, like, I wasn't like, oh, slay mayor. I was like, slay Faith, but not the mayor. 2, I liked Angel as the villain in 2, for sure. That was awesome. And then 1 was the Master, and he was Voldemort ass. Like, he was fine. But Glory, probably one of my favorite villains, up there with Evil Angel. She just commanded a room when she was in it. It was so good. She made sense as her evil self. Her and Buffy played off each other really well. I think the actresses killed it. And I was just like, as much as I want them to win, I was also like, yes, go Queen. Because, like, it was just a fun villain. And actually scary. Like, this bitch, like, suck your brain out. Like, no thank you. She also tied in well, even when there were, like, times she wasn't on screen and it was, like, Monster of the Week episodes. I think they had a really good balance of that this season. She's also one of the villains who actually, like, went for and hurt one of the crew. I feel like the crew always was able to slip by before, and, like, this villain was like, no, I will come for you. Like, she showed up at Buffy's house. She was like, hey, what's up? It was pretty good. And so I really liked her as a villain. I'm honestly gonna miss her as the villain. I'll be interested to see if season 6 Big Bad can, like, step to Glory, but I don't know that they can. Harmony's interesting. Harmony's interesting because I really like Harmony as a side character. But I think in Buffy, she did her job. I still love Harmony as a side character, but we also got an episode in this, like, section where she was a guest star on Angel, and she killed it, threw it out of the park. I love her better on that show. I think Buffy already has so many characters. We really only saw Harmony this year when she was, like, pretending to be Buffy to have sex with Spike. It was, like, it was a weird sex game they were doing. Like, that episode and then the one episode Drew was on. Like, those, I think, were Harmony's only appearances. And, like, I think she did what she needed to for them. But if I compare her, like, guest starring on this show to guest starring on Angel, I prefer her way more on the other show. I think she has better charisma with Charisma Carpenter. And I think same with, like, David Boreanaz and the other people on that show. I think she just fits into the Angel vibe better. And I want to see her guest star more on that show in the coming seasons. I think she belongs over on Angel. And it's not that I don't like seeing her, but we already had so much going on that I was like, oh, Harmony's back. Okay. Versus on that show, they actually don't have that many reoccurring characters. So you're like, oh, hell yeah, Harmony's back. So this is for her on Buffy in season 5. She did her job. It was fine. But I'll probably also have her on the Angel season 2 tier list, and she'll be higher up, I think, because even though she was only one episode, I loved it. So I think, yeah, if that makes sense, I hope it does. But, like, I think she belongs on Angel. These guys, I feel like nobody's gonna end up down here. Oh, I lied. I saw somebody who's gonna end up down there. These guys were, like, I guess I'll put them in You Did Your Job, because they were, like, fine. They were, like, kind of funny. They were henchmen. As henchmen goes, they were fine. They all basically had the same lines. But I wasn't, like, oh, very invested in these henchmen. Like, not really. Like, they could have, basically, they could have been anybody. Like, I don't think they, like, threw it out of the park as, like, they're the funniest or coolest henchmen ever. They were just kind of there. They propped up Glory, which they did their job. They made her look good, but I couldn't even tell you any of their names or, like, anything. Like, they weren't, like, you could have taken them out and put a different henchman in there and it wouldn't have really changed much. This better not be Joyce's dead face. That's crazy. We have to put her in Slay. Listen, Joyce is controversial. Sometimes she pisses me off. Sometimes I really like her. But at the end of the day, our queen died this season. We lost Joyce this season, and she deserves to be at the top. Okay, she had a good season. she had some health stuff that was too close to home for me currently, and those episodes were very hard to watch. But the actress did an amazing job. Joyce, like, really came through this season after, like, seeing her one time in season 4. She was there for Buffy. She was there for Dawn. Even when she started realizing that Dawn wasn't really, like, her daughter, she was still theirs, and she was like, we have to protect her. Like, she's so important. Her death has been felt through the rest of the season. Like, her death affected Buffy and Dawn and everybody, and how the characters acted through the rest of the story. It was so important. And, like, I hate that they put me through the sad cancer story just to kill her. Like, that was a lot for me, personally. But I was still like, this is great. Like, her character is great. She had a point this season, and she died, so I'm putting her in Slay, okay? I'm gonna miss Joyce. She won't be on here anymore. Sad. Oh, it's Riley. All the Riley fans they're not watching. If people really love Riley, they're not watching me react to it, because I fucking hate him. Like, I didn't originally, but, like, I forgot he was even on this season. I just saw his face and went, oh yeah. He's here. Don't come back. Stay in Brazil or wherever the fuck you are. I don't need him on this show. Him and Buffy are not meant to be together. They are too different. They want different things in relationships. And their relationship made me want to... Oh, I was so annoyed with him. I was so annoyed with him when he fucking cheats on her, basically, with vampires. And it's like... They needed me. It's like, I'm sorry that I did not react the way you needed to my mom having cancer. That's fucking crazy. You don't do that. If your person you love is going through something with a, like, family member having cancer, you be there for what they need. It is not about what you need in that fucking moment. And it's also crazy because I think what Riley needs is very unhealthy. To, like, need someone to need you is crazy. And it's gonna be codependent. It's not gonna be healthy. Like, I think I prefer to be with someone who wants to be with me. Like, they want me, they chose me, I'm what they want. Versus, like, they need me so bad. Like, Riley needs, like, a princess in distress. And that's not Buffy. It's never gonna be Buffy. Well, never again either, because she's fucking dead. But it's just not it. And I feel like Riley in the first half of this season, you could feel that they were not going to end up together, and you could feel like they didn't know what to really do with him on the show. So they were like, he rejoined the military, bye. And also there was that time where Xander, like, went off on Buffy and somehow made it her fucking fault. We'll get to that. My man Spike this season, I really liked Spike this season, but there's one thing stopping me from him going here. He's going here because of the stalker behavior. Spike helping them, he was great. I found him really funny and entertaining this season, but there kept being times where it was so confusing. I'm like, do they want me to ship these people? Because it felt like they did at certain, like, these really emotional certain moments that I liked, but then, like, next episode or next scene, he'd be stealing her underwear, and I'd be like, I don't want this. This is not good. Like, or doing, like, the sex shit with Harmony, or kidnapping her and being like, say you like me, or I'll let Drew eat your face, or whatever. And I was like, what? Spike is complex. And I really like that about the character, but it stops in my personal brain from him going into Slay when I think about all the creepy shit. I'm like, if it was just the other shit, and she didn't like him because he was, like, evil before and, like, all this, but, and he was still doing, like, evil stuff, I think I would put him higher, but it's the fact that it was, like, creepy stuff that, like, is stopping me. I'm like, no, that was weird, and I didn't like it. He had a sex robot made. It was... No! So, if he can avoid that kind of stuff in season 6, I think he will go to Slay. I really do, because I really enjoyed him this season. But, there were times where I didn't. Tara. I really love Tara. That's hard, though, because I feel like she spent a good half of this season with her brain just mush, so we didn't really get to see as much Tara. as I would have wanted. I'm deciding if she was more support. It's kind of similar to Anya, but I think Tara got definitely more episodes focused on her. I think I'm putting her in We're Fam for this season just because in the very beginning of the season and the very end of the season, she didn't have as much. I think the actress did a great job with the brain mush acting. But there's something telling me to put her there for now because I think if she had like the family storyline, but if she gets storyline in season 6 where it's a little longer and like fully on Tara, I think she's slay. And I think that's what I wanted for her, and since I didn't get that, it puts it a little lower, which basically these are just I love yous in both tiers. It's just like these are like my standouts of the season. And like I think Tara was almost there, but something in me says this tier. Like, and I think it is between, like, in the beginning of the season, she kind of just felt like Willow's girlfriend. Then we have that scene with her family, and she's slowly becoming more a part of the group. I really love her best showing this season is around when Joyce dies, and she's, like, talking to Buffy about losing her mom, and she's very supportive. Really loved her in those scenes. But then we also get the weird little biphobia thing that is hard to put on the character because I feel like it was so commonplace in the early 2000s and 90s to just be like, here's some biphobia for you, by the way. Like, I thought it was insane they made Willow bi, and then this season they were like, I'm a lesbian now, and I'm like, you're probably just bi, but it feels like 90s, early 2000s, like, there was so much biphobia, and they'd be like, no, bi doesn't exist, and, like, that's why Willow has to be a lesbian, and Tara has to doubt her because she liked guys. It's like, no, she's probably just bi, bro. It probably just, or pan, like, she doesn't care about the gender, she just likes the person. Like, that's more realistic, I think, but I don't know. Willow, straight to the top, baby. Straight to the top. Willow is my favorite character of the show, okay? Willow is so good. Oh, she has come so far. Her character growth through each season, she becomes more and more of a main badass character. I love her. She's still geeky. She's still awkward sometimes, but you can see her truly growing into herself and her character, and it's so good. She's the baddest bitch, especially when it comes to magic in this show. Like, she's so powerful. We keep seeing that growing. Like, she takes on Glory at one point after what she does to Tara, and it's awesome. They could not have won in the end without her. And Willow's just my favorite. Maybe because I relate to Willow in some ways. But, like, every Willow storyline this season, she felt like a main character. Like, it felt like this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but Willow's right here. Like, it's Buffy and Willow the show is more what it felt like a lot of the time, especially after Riley left, thank goodness. But I feel like Willow has worked her way up to feeling also like a main character. Like, she's not just sidekick anymore, she is, like, partner. Like, versus being, like, Batman and Robin, they're, like, Batman and Wonder Woman. Like, they're, like, closer to equals. And I like seeing that happen throughout the season. It's super organic. It feels super real. It makes you super invested in the character. And, like, I love it. Even when she made bad decisions, like showing Dawn the magic book and things like that, they felt realistic to the character. There's still some innocence there because Willow hasn't lost as much as, say, Buffy or Tara, but then you see her starting to be like, oh, that was a mistake, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's awesome. Willow's my favorite. She was so well done this season, and I loved her, so she's going to slay. Xander. You know what? I won't be that mean to Xander. I will put him with his girlfriend. My reasoning is mostly that those two are in every scene together and part of all the same storylines, pretty much. Like, they don't really do that much without each other. They're both kind of just comedic relief. They try to give Xander some storylines related to, like, his construction job. There's, like, the time the guy splits him. But similar to Anya, he got, like, one episode about him. in the entire season, and mostly he was just there to be in the background. He pissed me off less than normal, except the fucking scene where Riley's leaving and Xander suddenly, like, dumps all this fucking shit on Buffy and somehow makes it her fault, and it felt insane. It didn't feel like it fit at all. Like, I was like, what is happening? Like, this feels like a writer broke up with their girlfriend and is, like, putting it all into the show for some reason. Like, it didn't make sense. It was giving Xander was still mad Buffy didn't like him in high school, which I don't think is what they wanted to give, but it's how it came off. And I was like, dude, if you like Riley so much, you date him. Like, that's how it really felt. And it was like, it still sticks out to me, even though I think that was near the beginning of the season, and I watched it so long ago, as something that annoyed me. Him and Anya got engaged, so like, good for them. Like, I guess, if she survived the bricks landing on her head. But, like, overall, if you, like, compare Xander and Willow from season 1 to how they've grown to now, like, Xander has grown a bit, but he's not that different of a character, and he's still a sidekick. He's still, like, Buffy's funny human friend who's, like, there, and, like, you can still be a human and be useful. Look at, like, Giles, or even, like, Anya at times. Like, I don't know, like, Xander's not bad, but I'm like, I didn't feel like he had a huge purpose or effect this season. It kind of feels like because their main cast is so big that sometimes people get left in the background, and it mostly turns out to be Xander and Anya. They're just there for, like, funny moments, or moments they want to be funny, but kind of fall flat sometimes, because I'm like, I don't care what they have to say, because, like, you've given me no more reason, like, to grow with these characters, and, like, I think I also just don't ship Anya and Xander that hard either, so I'm just like, they're fine, like, they're there. But maybe if I was more invested in them, I would be like it even more, but, like, for me, I'm like, they're fine, they're kind of mid, they're not my favorite characters, but overall, I think this shows that overall I really enjoyed this season, and enjoyed many of the plot lines and the characters and the thought processes. And I'm excited for season 6. I, again, don't know anything. I don't even know if Sarah Michelle Gellar is in it. I have not looked anything up. I have no idea where this show is going if they don't somehow bring her back to life. But then I don't know how on a show where you've had so many anti-zombie episodes and anti-bringing people back to life episodes, they're gonna make it make sense for them to bring Buffy back to life. It seems like it would be very hypocritical, so I don't know. But I'm excited to find out. Again, if you would like early access to when we start season 6, you can check out Patreon, or you can check out YouTube memberships and find the deal that works the best for you. Other than that, I had a lot of fun this season. I really enjoyed it. Let me know where you would move people around. And other than that, I hope I see you next time.